Okay, so today's topics, like I said, I hope you have gotten something from what I was saying. Okay, so today's topic, I promise you that we're going to be looking at the cost of living between 2011 to 2025, which is last year. Okay, so what we have done a simple research. Okay, or I've done a simple research. I was looking at how inflation and cost of living actually move together. Did you know, for the first time in the history of Zambia, inflation is moving in a different direction and the cost of living is moving in a different direction in this government? So this tells you one thing: somebody is not being honest. I really don't trust the figures which comes from the Social Statistics Office, because there is a chance of being manipulated. Remember that the Central Statistics Office is a UPND government office, or it's a government office. So politicians have got a tendency of telling those people to manipulate figures. So whatever they produce, I think about them twice. So if I want to know exactly about the numbers, including the inflation and everything, I would rather go to World Bank website or go to IMF website, because this website do not lie. If they lie, there's a chance that it's minimal compared to what the internal institution of the government would do. All right? Okay. So let's look at the cost of living versus inflation in 2011. Okay. So in 2011, for those of you who don't know, the inflation was below 10. It was a single digit, around 6%. Okay? Yes. So the cost of living then, it was very low. You wouldn't imagine. It was around the 2,000 kwacha. That was a cost of living in 2011 when the inflation was at 6. But today, the inflation is single digit, about 6.4. The cost of living is 15,000 kwacha. It depends on which goods you put in the basic basket of living. Okay? Yeah. Okay? So, the cost of living is the increase in prices of general basic food baskets. That's a simple definition of cost of living. General increase in prices of basic food baskets, because we are looking at what resources you need for you to survive. Okay, not to live a luxury life, just to eat, sleep, drink water, and so sleep, which is shelter. You need water and you need food. So we are looking at how much do you need for you to survive with these basic needs. Maybe also transport. This time you can include it, because people one way or another, they jump in a bus or any other car to go to work and come back. So we might include fuel in it, in the basket. Although the Jesuit Center for Theoretical Reflection does not include fuel, but maybe they include petrol, or they include transport. Yeah. Okay. So in 2011 to 2015, that's what we are looking at. So sources I'm using, it is World Bank and the IMF, to just be clear with the list. I know there's some special people actually watching. Thank you very much for your support. I really feel encouraged. You should know that wherever you are. Yeah, okay. So as you all know, the cost of living and inflation, they're supposed to move in the same direction. So they are the cost of living, they are the inflation. Okay, but in UPND government, that's not the case today. Okay, the cost of living for the family of 5 is between 13 to 15,000 kwacha, but the inflation is actually at 6%. How do you explain this? So, how does the cost of living go up? Cost of living go up because prices of food prices or basic stuff you need for you to run a home increases. Now, if food prices and basic things you need to run a home is increasing, it simply means the inflation is increasing. Okay? Because inflation is an increase in prices of goods and services. Okay? That's what it means. Inflation is simply increase in prices, or consistent or constant increase in the prices of goods and services. That's what inflation is. Now, the cost of living is also increase in prices of basics for people to survive. So you realize that these two, the relationship they have, they are like twins. Okay? If they are heading into negative, they are all going into negative. If they are going to positive, they are all going into positive. But in the UPND government, what we have seen is that the inflation is lowering, but the cost of living is going in the other direction. It is telling you one thing, which simply means the government, to some extent, is not honest. the government is lying to you that inflation is going down, those figures might be manipulated. Because the cost of living and inflation must always, or at least, go in the same direction. We can't have a situation where the inflation is decreasing, the cost of living is increasing. How is that possible? Okay? What reduces inflation and the cost of living? One, excess production and export. These two. So, if the inflation is going down, it simply means we have improved in exports and manufacturing, also production, which is same as manufacturing. Okay? So if the cost of living is lowering, it also simply means we have improved in the export and manufacturing and also production. But it's not possible to have the cost of living increasing and the inflation lowering down. That's impossible. So for this to actually be possible, we need one indicator to be constant. For example, if inflation is at 6 stack for maybe 6 months, the cost of living will not rise quickly, okay? Or it will start going down. That's the meaning. So if we have the cost of living at a constant price or constant number, it simply means the inflation will not go up. It will be constant, or it will start going to the negative. It will be reducing. Now, we cannot have a scenario. Economists on this page, or those who might view this video, I challenge you, okay, to challenge me if you think what I'm saying is not correct. We cannot have a scenario whereby the inflation is decreasing, the cost of living is increasing. Such scenario cannot happen. It's not possible. What is possible is that it's either inflation and cost of living are both at constant, they're not increasing at all, or inflation is constant, but the cost of living is going down. It can't be going upward when inflation is constant or it's going to the negative. So someone is not telling the truth here, especially from those in the Central Statistics Office. I say this because I've got a background in economics, so I understand how some things actually functions. Anyway, let's go. So from 2011 to 2016, you should know that Zambia had a stable inflation of around 6 to 9.4% up to 2018. Okay? And then from 2019 to 2020, that's when we saw the sharp increase of inflation to 15.5, and later on in 2021 to 22.5. And this was due to the COVID. Remember COVID-19 when it came in? Countries had to close their economy, it closed their borders, and things stopped moving. Fuel was actually selling at negative per barrel, which means zero. If you had $0, you could buy fuel by then in the Middle East. Of course, not in Zambia. In Zambia, politicians are always stealing something on top of fuel, like Mr. Ichilema used to say, and he has continued to steal something on top of fuel. That's the reason why fuel up to today is still expensive. Not because there's war in the Middle East. Yes, that's a factor to consider, but African countries have got a way of stealing something on top of fuel because of the middlemen they use, and the people they give contracts. They give those contracts mostly to actually do some benefit, not that for the goodness of Zambia. No, okay. They call it business, but it is stealing. Yeah. So, like I said, from 2011 to 2018, about there, we had steady increasing, slow by slow inflation. It moved from 6%, it went up to 9.4 in 2018. Okay, but from 2019 to 2020, it rose to 15.5, and then from 2020 to 2021, it rose to 22.5. And we know that this was due to coronavirus, and because borders were closed, we were not really exporting anything or importing anything. We're not going anywhere. We're just home. We're doing everything online, and because of that, the economy had a serious shock because the people stopped trading, like serious trading. Okay, everything became closed off. So this was a major cause of the rise in the food prices, which is the inflation. Okay. Apart from that, copper prices went down because remember that if the economies are closed and countries are closed their borders, which simply means even export of major material will not be required in excess. For example, copper prices went down between 2018 and 2021 due to COVID. That was a major thing, and you know that each time Zambia faces copper price reduction, our economy suffers huge. It leads to high inflation, and it also leads to high cost of living. But in the European government, it's actually shocking. Prices of copper today, they are almost 10,000 per metric ton, and we are producing 800,000 metric ton per year. You can calculate. Now, another issue which actually may be causing this problem is because Mr. Ichilem and this government, a lot of people gave him money before he came to power. For example, First Quantum Mining, they personally funded the UPND. Okay? If you think I'm lying, this story was produced in the Guardian newspaper in the UK. That First Quantum gave a lot of money to UPND to do campaigns in 2021. And when they won, what UPND did, gave these people tax holiday. You know what tax holiday is? It's reducing the tax the mines are supposed to pay. Yes, mines are paying taxes. Not that they're not paying any tax. They are paying tax, but they're not paying taxes they're supposed to pay in a struggling economy. Okay? So UPND showed favor to these mines which helped them during the elections. I hope this will change this time around. Yeah, okay. So if you've got a question and anything you'd like to say, you can always put it in the comment section. Yeah, so now I'm going to look at the cost of living between 2011 to 2026. I'll be looking at basic goods or commodities you should be looking out for, mostly when you are considering the cost of living. I just picked few, but you guys can actually pick more if you want to. All right. So this time I'll be looking at mini meal from 2016 to 2026. Hopefully you'll be patient enough to actually listen and understand what I'm trying to say or compare the prices. I'll also be looking at bread. You know, bread has been, a topical discussion. At one point, it even reached at 35 per one loaf of bread, which is 700 grams, which is impossible, it is just impossible for our citizens who don't even get as much money, all right? So sugar prices also, be looking at it. I'll be looking at 2 kg sugar price specifically from 2011 up to 2025 last year. I'll also be looking at petrol. Petrol is the most used type of fuel in Zambia because most of small motorists who actually trade locally, they use petrol. Diesel is very important for export and driving bigger machines, like especially in the mines, but petrol is equally very, very, very important for local businesses, especially those with small cars to move to work, to take some product to the market and stuff like that. Yeah, so I'll be looking at petrol only. I'm sure next time I'll be looking at diesel, but in this video I'll look at petrol. All right, what else will I be looking at? Okay, so I've talked about mini meal, cooking oil, bread, and sugar, also fuel, which is petrol. So in 2011, for some of you who don't know, okay, mini meal was selling a 25 kg pack of mini meal was selling between 50 kwacha and 70 kwacha in 2011. Interesting, right? Yes, when governments were working. So in 2016, by 2016, mini meal 50 kg bag was selling from 50 to 70. It was selling at 90 to 110. So 110 kwacha per 25 kg bag of mini meal by 2016. By 2019, mini meal was selling at 65 to, no, not 65. By 2019, mini meal was selling at 120 to 130. Okay, this is PF time, you remember. And then by 2020 to 2021, mini meal went up to 150 to 155 per 25 kg bag of breakfast mini meal, right? So in 2022 to 2023, the time of UPND, mini meal went from 150 maximum to 300 to 400 per kilogram of 25 kg bag of mini meal. In 2024 to 2025, mini meal went from 350, 600 in some places to 700, like I think in that is Chiluvia Island, and some places of Zambia, mini meal went all the way up to 650 to 700 in some places, as if we are selling in Congo, in this same country. So you guys remember where you're coming from. Mini meal has been very expensive. Government tried here and there, but it was too late, and that was just, the effort was not really there. The biggest mistake UPND made when they came to power, they thought they had a lot of maize, and they sold this maize to Tanzania. You remember, they sold this maize to other places. And later on, when we had a problem and drought, they started buying this maize back or something at the expensive price, and they sold it. So that was lack of planning, and that was lack of leadership skill. Mr. Ichilem is the agriculture minister. All right. Let's look at bread. Bread in 2011 was actually selling at 5 to 8 kwacha per loaf of bread. Kwacha, imagine. Those were good days, I guess. But anyway, people also were getting Ndamas in order by then. Okay. So by 2016, bread was selling at 9 kwacha to 12 kwacha, and then by 2020, bread was around 15 kwacha to 18 kwacha, and then by 2024, bread reached 30 kwacha. Then 2025, bread reached 32 kwacha per loaf of bread, which is very true. So we see that things have been increasing, and there's no sign that actually somebody was actually working on the cost of living, because these things, all they have shown is a constant increase. I know that in economics, there's a theory which says that prices are stick upward. It simply means prices can never really go down. It's either they stop at one point or they continue rising, which is very true. But this rapid increase just tells you one thing. The government which came in power, they did not focus on reducing the cost of living. Their focus maybe was on the economy, which they are claiming have done that. But 4 years later, if they did something on the economy today, the cost of living would have been much lower, or maybe around 10,000 kwacha, not 15,000 kwacha, which we are seeing. Yeah. So when you look at cooking oil, the 2 liter in 2011 was actually 20 kwacha to 30 kwacha, and then by 2016 was 40 kwacha to 60 kwacha, and then by 2020 it was 65 to 90 kwacha, and then in 2024 it reached up to 170 by 2025. Yeah, clearly you see that things have just been increasing upward, and it's increasing very fast, especially from 2021 because of the COVID and other factors which came in. Things increased rapidly. Okay, so fuel in 2011 was actually 15 kwacha per liter minimum or maximum, and then minimum was 12 kwacha per liter. By 2021, fuel was 17 kwacha. That's where PF left it, and then the UPN came in power, and then the fuel went to 30 to 35 kwacha, and then latest was 34, and the minimum 27, which is around this time after they reduced a bit. Yeah. So what the UPN have done, actually, they increased more than they reduced all the time, right? So expect some reduction this time also, because of elections. They want you to vote for them, so they will do everything to manipulate a lot of things for you to think that they're actually working. But meanwhile, they're not. They're just trying to save themselves. Okay. So between 2011 and 2016, Zambia maintained a stable inflation of below 10, which is 8% to 9%. Remember what I was telling you, that between 2011 up to 2018, the inflation rate was actually between 8 to 9.4%. So in 2016, inflation rose due to depreciation of kwacha. Remember I told you that in 2016, copper prices went down, and this affects our economy in a big way each time we have copper prices going down. And this continued up to 2020 because of COVID, and all this continued until now, or maybe around 2022, 2023. That's when prices and demand for copper started picking up on the international market. Yeah. So each time copper prices go down, remember that our economy gets affected. All right. Okay. So enough with the economy and the cost of living. At least you've seen that the cost of living has continued going up. If you didn't get anything from this topic, to summarize it, what I was saying is that from 2011 up to 2019, the inflation was stable until COVID came in, and it may be a failure of the government here and there. The PF government actually also failed in some extent to actually maintain this, and also coupled with drought and COVID, it made things worse. The UPN didn't done so much, but they have tried to do debt restructuring, which they haven't finished. And you should know that even if it's not UPN who won elections in 2021, debt restructuring was going to be done, because this was a requirement by the IMF. Yeah, so you can't just praise the UPND for debt restructuring. It is not their project. They just found it, and thank God they continued it, and they are now up to 95%. But we shouldn't also celebrate it, because debt restructuring simply means you pay later, or you pay bit by bit, but you still pay anyway. Yeah, that's what it means. All right. Now let's look at CDF in the UPND government. What is actually CDF? Do you know anything about CDF? Let me know in the comment section. What has CDF done in your community? My mother is also watching. So guys, be respectful. So let me know if CDF has done any major project in your community. Let me know in the comment section. So we'll be looking at what does UPNG CDF looks like. Yes, it has been increased from 1.1 million kwacha to 40, I think 40 or maybe 6 million per constituency. But the question is, has any constituency ever received the full amount of CDF, and what has it done apart from the classroom I hear, the desks, the toilets, and whatever, you know? What else has CDF done in your constituency? I'd love to know that. Let me know in the comment section. So I'll be looking at what CDF looks like under UPNG and how it looked like during the PF of 10 years, which is from 2011 to 2021, and how is CDF looking like today from 2021 to 2025. I'm looking at 2025 because this is the only time which has data. For 2026, not yet, until this year ends. Yeah. Okay, so CDF under UPND, they have increased it. They have increased the allocation and expanded what it should cover. Okay, so CDF is a community development fund. It's mainly used to fix or construct minor projects or fixing maybe a roof was blown up. There's a tank rupture. There's a pipe rupture somewhere. There's a road is to be mended shortly, or there's a washed away bridge in a community. This money is a function of that money. This money was never intended to do major projects in every constituency. That's the reason why we have noticed that under UPNG there's no major project they have done, because doing decentralization that has not helped CDF. Okay, so CDF can never function in decentralization or building major infrastructures, because major infrastructures can only be done by central government, which has enough resources to do it. 46 million is too small to actually do any major project in the community. Yeah, so CDF must continue. It's a good idea, but I don't think it should be, every burden for CDF should be put on major construction of any mega projects in the community. So CDF should continue working and helping to solve out small issues in every community, but it should never be used to do major improvement or construction in any constituencies. Okay, so under UPNG, what they did is that they came in the name of decentralizing the money. They gave it to different CDF, not CDF. They gave it to different constituencies in the name of trying to help and also make the country access their money more easily, instead of it coming from the central government. But what this did is that it actually gave out the power or the blame. So the blame was shifted from the central government to the MPs and the YWDC, those who sit on the CDF committees. And the major problem the UPNG made was that instead of, before the CDF implementation, what they were supposed to do was supposed to train expertise who would actually sign the release of 10 million, for example. You should know that in these National Assembly offices around the country, there may nobody was authority to sign for a 10 million kwacha. If somebody needs a 10 million kwacha from CDF, there's nobody who actually has authority to sign that. And it's one of the reasons why almost all the constituencies in Zambia have not received the much needed CDF in large amounts. Is because there are no experts or people with enough authority to actually sign out for these huge monies. So what they have ended up receiving, maximum, some of them is 8 million for the last 4 years. Some of them 1.5 million for the last 4 years. And you wonder, like, okay, what was the point of increasing the CDF if the constituencies were not receiving the much needed money? The answer is very simple. It's because there were no expertise or people with enough authority to actually release this type of money, which all of a sudden increased without increasing the expertise in these constituencies. Okay, so and another problem we have is that in these constituencies, just like in schools, they don't have what is called the procurement officers. You should know that procurement office is very busy one, and we need those expertise in almost everywhere. And because people are scared of going to jail when auditors come in, they are scared to actually sign on something that they have no authority on. Remember that, for example, if a headmaster signs on a purchase of anything in school, maybe it requires a lot of money, and that headmaster does not qualify to actually sign for any purchase in school, because that job is for procurement office. Yeah, and because UPN did not put these things in place, they did this to actually excite members of the public, and also this is a populist, okay, populist policy, because they knew that there would be nobody in the constituents who can actually sign for this money, who had enough power or qualification to sign for this money. They just gave it to excite you. So what the community did, instead they started blaming their MPs, okay, they started blaming their councillors, they started blaming the WYDC in those CDF committees. These are the people the society or communities have been blaming for not releasing the money, but they're forgetting that actually the problem of the government. The government, if it was serious about this and it avoided the populist policy, what they would have done, they would have actually brought in this expertise before the implementation of CDF. Otherwise, CDF is a welcome move, the link is a welcome move, but it has taken away the law of the central government to actually do make infrastructure in this community, which is very bad. We need to actually take back the central government mandate to actually develop the communities. It's the only way we'll see meaningful development in these constituencies or areas of our country. All right. So if you ask me today, there is no information either online or Central Statistics Office, and even the World Bank or IMF, which suggests that any constituency in Zambia has received more than 10 million kwacha as CDF. I don't think so. I don't think so. If there's any, I want to sit in the comment section. I know that the press singers will come here and start saying things they don't understand. But some of us will have interest in this, and so we start them very seriously. And looking at our economist background, it's easier for me to actually look here and there. I know where to look to if I want something to do with government functioning and the spending habits, especially the procurement section. Okay? So, these are some of the things which actually has made the CDF to fail. Another one is that the people who sit in this CDF committee, most of them are actually just cadres. They don't even have expertise. Their expertise is that they supported UPND, they supported the member of the UPND. You should see, and these members of parliament, for example, if you stood on UPND, you will find that all those in WYDC who sit in the committee for CDF are actually UPND cadres. And what do these cadres do? Mostly they just come there to sit and eat. It's the reason why there's so much problems in the Lusaka city. One of them, I hope Mr. Simon Mwewa wins as the mayor, because I believe he can do something about the debt in Lusaka. I would love to see a city which is down, which is clean. Most of our politicians and our leaders have been to many different countries. I'm telling you, they have seen beautiful cities. They have seen clean streets. But why they fail to implement this type of policies, or what they see abroad wherever they go, is what shocks me. Okay, so I hope Mr. Mo has got enough experience. The man lived in America for a long time, so I hope he can help us. And the father to Mr. Mo was the first mayor of Lusaka, for those some of you don't know. Yeah, then Mr. Simon Mwewa Lane. That name comes from the first mayor of Lusaka, who is Mr. Simon Mwewa. Okay, not the Mwewa currently. This is the son. Yeah, so I hope Mr. Mwewa is going to do a good job. It doesn't matter which government will come in. We should support Mr. Mwewa, and we should uproot the cadres from the councils who are collecting money and they are not putting it to a good use supposed to. So one of the reasons why councils failed in Lusaka City is because the money are being controlled by cadres. The cadres are not limiting or giving the much needed funds to council or to central government to actually do proper cleaning and proper infrastructures in there. Lusaka CBD. It's not just Lusaka CBD. Many markets around the country, it's the same thing. UPND cadres, for now, they're one in control. In the past, it was PF cadres. But this is wrong. We need serious mayors, and we need serious local authorities to actually do this job of cleaning and building more markets. Okay. So if you had to ask me what would be my vision if I was a mayor, or maybe later in life if I became a president, what I would actually do, I would dismantle Chivoria, I would dismantle Mrs. So these two areas, we know that they are clustered compounds, okay, with poor roads, poor housing infrastructure. Each time it rains, these areas floods, and it puts a lot of people in lists of cholera and other diseases, airborne and water diseases. So if I were to become a president one day, what I would do is dismantle Mrs., dismantle Chivoria, make these either warehouses or other industries. Okay. If that plan does not work, we can just relocate Lusaka from Lusaka to somewhere where it is more central and where we have more land, and so that we start building our cities fresh. Remember that whoever built Lusaka the city, did not build it to accommodate a lot of people. Remember that the people colonized Africa. They colonized it and they thought that it would be like that for a long time and people will never expand. But today, we have people almost up to 20 million and about 4 million to 5 million live in Lusaka city. And because that city was not planned to actually accommodate so many people, it's the reason why we have issues of floods and we have issues of garbage problem and all these things, because the plan for the city was not for a lot of people. So what we need to do is either expand or relocate the capital city to somewhere where it is more free, so that we start building our own city for free. We have our own planning and stuff like that. Okay. Actually, one of my crazy plans I have in life is we should create a small town for ourselves. You know, maybe a group of youths, those who make it and those who not make it, we can work together and create the new city in Zambia. I mean, you can name it anything nice or anything relatable to many youths in Zambia. You know, let's go between Kapili and Kawe, or between Kawe and what's this other town, and Dola, somewhere there. We can create a beautiful city where we start from afresh, we do proper planning and everything, and leave the congested Lusaka. Yes, anyway, so like what I'm saying, the CDF was given to councils, not to councils, to constituencies in order to actually release the burden from the central government to put it on the constituency level. So at the end of the day, the people have been blaming the MPs that they are not using the CDF, but remember that this is a deliberate move or populist type of policy which excites people, but when you look at it in details, it does not really do anything to help out the community. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So CDF in UPND has been used to enrich cadres instead, like I said, and only build classrooms, desks, and some toilets, and I don't know other things they have done. I mean, it's very difficult to actually point out in terms of infrastructure-wise what UPND has actually done, and it's because you can't shift the burden of developing a nation to a constituency level. Let it be to central government. I think the next government should bring back the mandate to develop the nation to central government, because they can collect more resources and they have better plans. They have better people to actually do these contracts than in the constituency level. In the constituency level, because we are looking at other constituencies, for example, you look at the constituents like Kanchivia, which is in the village. Most people there are not really skilled, and the rules are that if there's a project going on in there, the local people should do their job. Now, the problem is that the people in there, since most of them are not really so skilled, what they would end up doing is not something that would actually be to the standards. So what we'll have would have substandard, and in a few years it might be blown away. These are stories you hear that the roof was blown away, the walls fell down. It's because the people constructing, they are not as expertise as what the government would actually bring if the constructor or contractors came from the government or the central government. Yeah, so we need the government to actually do major projects in these all constituencies and remove the burden from these constituencies. All right, yeah. So today the UPND cannot point at any meaningful development in comparison to what the PF did in the past 5 years, despite them borrowing up to $9.4 billion. Now, how do I come to $9.4 billion debt? So I've just combined between the external debts and the internal debts. Total, they have borrowed up to $9.4 billion, which exactly the same money the PF actually borrowed when they were in opposition. PF, for 10 years, they borrowed $9.4 to $9.3 billion. Yeah, and today we are in a mess because of that. And the UPND have actually borrowed that. And I heard a story today, and someone was saying the Central Statistics Office want to revise the GDP of Zambia. That is very dangerous, and I'm wondering why people who are educated like Mr. Lubindaba Zoka is quiet about it. I hope Mr. Yusuf Doja is going to say something about it. It is wrong, because what happens is that if they revise the GDP, for example, we are saying that our GDP today is at $30 billion, okay? And then the debt of Zambia is actually going to about 29 billion, because the UPND has borrowed. Remember that when PF borrowed, it was around 15, and then it came to around 14 to 15 billion dollars as debt. And then when UPND borrowed about 9, it goes to about 25 to 24 billion dollars as a debt. And then we are looking at the GDP, which is at $30 billion. Look at how much we have borrowed. We have borrowed more than 50% of our GDP, which is very dangerous. But what the European wants to do, like I tell you, they're actually good at manipulating numbers and telling you numbers. No, numbers don't lie. No, numbers lie if you punt them wrongly or you give fake figures. And the UPND are giving fake figures. The reason why, for example, the cost of living and inflation are going in opposite direction. But in the actual sense, in the actual or in the theory, they're supposed to go in the same direction. Okay, inflation is rising, the cost of living should be rising, not the opposite. The inflation is at 6, the cost of living at 15,000. Something is wrong. Somebody is not giving us correct figures here. All right. So, like I said, the UPND have borrowed more than they're supposed to borrow in 4 years. And what they have done with that money, I don't know. It's just consumption. They are borrowing to pay civil services. They are borrowing to actually construct these few things. You know, CTF itself is actually, you can actually classify it to be a consumption money, because what it does is not really long-term project or capital project which might bring money to Zambia. Yes, I know some press singers will come here and say, oh, but look at the Dollar Dual Carriageway. Dollar Dual Carriageway is not being financed by Zambia. A contractor borrowed money from Zambia, yes, which is NAPSA, I think so, and they're building that, and they're collecting toffees. So government has got no funding in that contract. It is money, which is money for pensioners, okay? Zambian pensioners, that money is theirs. The one a private company has actually borrowed to start constructing that Dollar Dual Carriageway. Yes, it's cheaper, but government has not spent any coin in that road, because it's being constructed by AVIC and other companies, and they have borrowed money from NAPSA. So this is not a government funded project. It is funded by private or whatever they call PPT. Government just went there to sign as a partnership. They did not put any money in there. So it's not something that you can really say it's a work of the UPND. Well, to some extent, because they are the one who are doing administration of the country for now. So you might give them that credit. And when you hear Mr. Ishdema say there have been no development for the last 10 years, it's a joke, because first of all, he was saying such thing in Mrongushi, which was built under the PF. He keeps insulting, although they are in an alliance together, okay? Which is very sad. How do you insult your alliance partner? Something is actually wrong in our country, and we need to heal and love each other, and then as we move forward. Yeah, okay, so that's it. Alright, so now I'm going to be looking at election updates. Yeah, let me know where you're watching from. We will look at election updates in a few moments. In Zambia, where we'll be looking at the ladies, the policy directions, and the last minute policy fulfillment. Black Mountain was given back to the youths. Yeah. So it's crazy, but this is what's happening in Zambia. Listen to this song. This song says the politicians have a tendency of coming to voters or electorates when it's too late, when they want votes, but when they vote for them, they actually disappear. So we'll be talking about the election updates in Zambia. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, we are back. Let's talk about the elections updates in Zambia. Hopefully you are doing well. I know that my podcast is a little bit longer most of the times, but it is worth it because you're going to get serious updates. This one removes biasness, and we make sure that we do research for things we present here because we believe that we are talking to fellow thinking Zambians and who want to see their country better. Yeah. Okay, so election updates. Campaigns and rallies have continued, and the two main candidates so far so good is Mr. Ichilema and Brian Mundubile, whose running mate is Makebi Zulu. And Mr. Ichilema's running mate is Madam Mutaina Lumango. We thank God that she was saved yesterday. We saw that she was actually involved in the crash. A chopper, the helicopter she was in, actually crashed. And we thank God that nobody actually got injured or died. Yeah, you know, it's election time. We have to be very careful and we need to be prayerful in our country. We don't know what could be speaking against our leaders because there are so many suspicions and a lot of evil things have actually happened. Zambia to some extent needs to repent and they need to heal. We need to go back to the Lord and bow and humble ourselves. Otherwise, a lot of things have continued going wrong and we just don't know what might come tomorrow. So it's very important to continue praying for the leaders, even those we don't like. Okay, those we don't agree with, we must be praying for them all the time. Okay, first of all, the another problem is that the church is very much divided in Zambia. Others are bought, others are speaking things which they're not supposed to speak. Sometimes you wonder, is this a man of God? But just because they want to hit or something, it is wrong. If this country is going to move forward, we need to unite in doing good things or spread good message, not propaganda, not making enemies for Mr. Ichilema or making enemies for Mr. Brian Mundubile. It will not take us anywhere. All right, but love and caring and praying for each other is what is needed in our country to actually for us to continue to be a Christian nation. Yes. All right. So, which is so now what has been happening in this campaigns? Two things. For the first time in the history of Zambia, I think the opposition are more sober, are more mature, and they are not insulting. Thank God, because we saw in opposition when the leader of the UPND today, Mr. Ichilema, could insult when he goes to rallies. That when PF will give you something, just eat it and then say, you cannot say that. This is not friendly on the media. But Mr. Ichilema has been insulting since he was in opposition. And he has continued to insult up to now. He's calling his friends thieves, but he has not arrested them. He's calling them criminals, but he has not arrested them. And nobody is being pursued by police or anybody. So calling them thieves and calling them crocodiles and all this, Mr. President should know it's a defamation of character, and we don't need character assassination. We need policy, we need soberness, we need composure. Tell us what you do. Explain your manifesto instead of attacking the opposition. And if there's some opposition who are attacking the ruling, stop it. I mean, there's no need to start character assassination and the ABCD. Oh, he did this, he does this, he's a witch, he's a wizard, he's a... Look, all this is not going to help you convince the voters to vote for you. The best, do like most of the opposition leaders are doing, especially for Mr. Mundi. I have to clap for him. The man has managed to be sober, has managed not to insult. He has managed to actually continue articulating and opposing the manifesto of the UPND instead of insulting them like the UPND is doing. The UPND has sidelined, Mr. Ichilema himself has sidelined the people of UPND, those old members. He has put them to dump sites. And he has hired Mr. Nevas Mumba, who I respect so much, but the way he has been coming these days, it's really very disappointing. He has had Mr. Nevas Mumba, he has had the PF president who is Mao Sampa, Chaving, and all this to actually create enemies for himself. I mean, how do you hire people to create enemies for you? You people who have been hired, whether to speak good about the UPN, just concentrate on that. Explain UPND points and what UPND has done. If you did a good work in the last 4 years, you don't need to come and campaign so hard or explain and insult someone for people to believe. They know and they have been seen. But one thing you can never take away from Zambians, each time there's a crisis of high food prices, Zambians have got tenders of changing the government. We changed the government in 1991 because of high cost of living. We changed government in 2011 because of cost of living. Zambians changed government in 2021 because of high cost of living, capitalism, and corruption. All these things are actually happening in the UPND government. So what makes you think that the UPND are going to vote for you, or the people of Zambia are going to vote for you because of your insults against Kebi Zulu, insults against the other opposition leaders, instead of explaining your policy and what you have done? You don't need to take 10 hours to explain what you have done. If you did them indeed and they were for the benefit of Zambians, there is no need to campaign so hard, because these people would have seen what you have done. Okay? But if you're campaigning so hard and you're demeaning other people, it simply means you're failed and you're trying all your last tactics to convince Zambians that you did work. Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's it. So now, as campaign goes by, both HH and Mr. BMH has continued to pull big rallies. I think you have seen. HH and Brani Munduvide, the miraculous man, they have continued to pull big crowds, or what you call mega rallies, wherever they go. Now, the most shocking things to the UPND special is that Brani Munduvide was never in a serious or any political party, because first of all, PF was stolen from the PFs, and it was given to Chavinga Mao Sampa, and then they both went to UPND. So the UPND thought that by destabilizing PF, Zambians will only have option to vote for them, but they lied to themselves. The truth is, Zambians are angry. Zambians have been told not to speak. Each time they see something trending or anything the government has done, no, they are not speaking. They're just saying they don't have a lawyer. Zambians hate to live under dictatorship. Zambians can never allow themselves to live under dictatorship. Because of the cyber law which Mr. H.M. has imposed on Zambians, which he said you never do, and because of Bill 7, these things are going to cost him elections. And because of the high cost of living, these are things which are going to cost him elections. Remember, Zambians don't just wake up to go and vote. They vote because of what you have made them pass through. 4 years of road shedding, you have not even come to apologize or compensate people who lost businesses of butcheries, saloons, welders and barbermen. All these people lost a lot of living and incomes, but nothing. All you do is rhetoric. It's oh, it's doubt, oh, it's God, oh, it's Middle East. You have everything to blame but yourself. Alright? So Kalaba and Dr. Fred Membe, they have been treated bad in these elections. First of all, their members, either they have been bribed, or some of the members have actually just decided to leave their party. Mr. Kalaba, so far, the latest has lost his running mate. His running mate has gone to endorse Mr. Brani Munduvide, citing that Mr. Brani Munduvide is the person the people of Zambia want, so he's going to support Mr. Brani Munduvide. But Mr. Kalaba, soberly, like I said, the position has been very mature in this election. He has said Mr. Mawele, Moses Mawele, is free to endorse any other person. As you wish. This is democracy. So another person who has actually left CF is Maxwell Chungu, a youth chairperson for Citizen First Party, has also gone to, he has endorsed Brani Munduvide and Makebi Zulu. Okay, another person who is actually endorsing or saying people should vote for Mr. Makebi Zulu and Munduvide is actually Dr. Chimbakambwili. For some of you know him, the incumbent Dr. Chimbakambwili, a serious politician in Zambia, and has been a politician for a long time. Has been a member of parliament for long, and I think he's going to win again. People love him in one constituency. He has done massive jobs in there and a lot of development. So I think Mr. Kambwili will win that seat under the CF. Yeah, although I know that he wishes to work with Brani Munduvide. Yeah. So for Dr. Freddie Membe has also lost a lot of people, and his campaign has not been friendly to anybody, not even to the UPND, not to any other opposition. Dr. Freddie Membe has continued to say Zambia needs to change the government and needs to change the way Zambia loses itself. So Mr. Freddie Membe, first of all, is opposing the Brani Munduvide, the CF, and these other candidates. He's also opposing the UPND. How far he will go with that, we don't know, but we wish him all the best. You know, sometimes for you to change the way people are ruled and the way to take power, you have to do everything, and then after you do it, you can, later on you can change it. You don't go with aggressive way to lavish every opposition, your fellow opposition, to lavish laws including government. Then what is it that you want? Already, socialism is not something that a lot of people know about. It might be good, but to some extent, socialism only works when there's somebody who's paying the bill. But if nobody pays it, corrupt. And on the contrary, capitalism, yes, has got a lot of problems, but it has brought a lot of innovation in the world today. Because of capitalism, today we have a lot of things, including Starlink and other internet and all these other companies, because of capitalism. It's not a good system of the government, but it encourages everyone to work very hard for what they want to possess in life. Yes, okay. Yeah, so that's it. There's serious setbacks in the CF and the Socialist Party, and they need to do a lot next time when choosing their leaders, because this resignation has said a lot about how people feel for their leaders. Okay. So now, as the election continues and the rallies and the campaigns, we have seen a lot of chiefs from Southern Province, including Chief Mukuni and some other chiefs, have endorsed President Hichilema, okay? And some chiefs from the Northern Province have also endorsed Brian Mundubile. Although there's a lot of controversy, you know, if a chief from the Northern Province or another part of Zambia endorses Brian Mundubile, that chief is going to be insulted by the UPND, is going to be demeaned. But all the chiefs from Southern Province who have endorsed Mr. Hichilema, some of them are even calling him a god, you know. It's very shocking that a chief in Southern said he considers HH as a god. In a Christian nation, we should have people who are considered to be gods. Come on. We don't need such things, okay? So I like the chief for my mbuyas, the Bembas, okay? The Chitimukuru has said he's not going to endorse anybody, remain neutral. That's what we expect from traditional leaders. They should not really publicly endorse someone. They should just go and vote, because what that does is it influences their members of their subject. It's actually buying, you know, it's vote buying or bias the selection of a leader. So chiefs and pastors in churches should never ever endorse any president, because the members who follow them, they support and they have different doctrine or different ideologies over the politics. So it is not a good thing for a chief to do that. Otherwise, those people become cadres. And I wouldn't want to associate myself with a chief who is a cadre who changes and supports everyone. Initially, the chiefs are supposed to work with every government in power, but they should not reach an extent of endorsing such governments, because this paints them as cadres and it divides their subjects. Yeah. So like I said, Mr. Hichilema has sidelined a lot of people and chose wrong people to campaign for him. Instead of campaigning for him properly, they're actually making a lot of enemies for Mr. Hichilema. Mr. Nevers Mumba must turn down. He's a man of God. I respect him so much. But what he's speaking on behalf of UPND is not encouraging. He's not bringing unity, same as Mr. Mao Sampa and all these people. And you wonder, why are so many PF members really campaigning for HH when HH and the UPND have got strong members of the UPND and old members who are supposed to be campaigning for the UPND? It's crazy, but anyway, we'll see what happens. Yeah. So true and false. Let's look at some true and false. Some accusations flying here and there. True or false accusation from UPND. Brian Mundubile will fire civil servants employed by UPND. It's a false. Brian Mundubile did not say he's going to fire civil servants employed by the UPND. What Brian Mundubile said was that if you're a civil servant and you're engaging yourself in active politics, you better resign, because by law, a civil servant must be neutral. Yes, they are allowed to vote, they are allowed to hear their opinion, but they are not allowed to side with anybody. Madam Patience Womba, good evening. Thank you very much. I hope you are doing well. I hope you have also noticed who was on. We want the person with who commented earlier and is a member and active member of this page. Okay. I hope Kito is good. Thank you for joining. Yeah. So Brown did not say he's going to fire civil servants who were appointed by Barry. I saw Mr. Gilbert Swadiso lying to the people. Imagine. A youth chairperson for UPND is lying to the Zambians that Mundubile said he's going to fire people who are appointed by HH. That's a lie. Mundubile said if you're a civil servant, you're not supposed to be in active politics, because that's what the law says. Okay? The law which guides civil service says any civil servant must not be in politics actively. Yes, they have a right to vote for whoever they want to vote for. They have a right to actually support any candidate, but they should not be there actively. If you are a civil servant and you want to be a politician, resign from your work and be in the active politics. So that's what Mr. Mundubile was saying. change. Those of you civil servants who are actively campaigning for HH, that's not your job. You're not supposed to do that. It is wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal. Resign and join politics, or vote or endorse or love Mr. HH secretly. We don't want that because it influences other civil servants in the service, and it's called vote buying. Yes, another one. Okay. Mr. Gilbert Swaniso went on and said, civil servant, anyway, not Mr. Swaniso, sorry about that. So the Constitution does not encourage civil services, civil servant people, or people work for the government to actually be in active politics. If they want to do so, they must resign and then go there or be retired in national interest. So Mr. Mundibira said, if you're a civil servant and you continue being in active politics where you're not supposed to be, you should change or you'll be retired when the time comes. So change or be retired. So only those civil servants who are active in politics, like the PS, Tabo Kawana, is a civil servant. He's not supposed to be very active in politics, but you've seen him, he acts like a cadre. And Mr. Kangwa also acts like a cadre. I think he's in the midst of tourism or something. I don't know. Maybe for youth and sports, something like that. Yeah. So civil service are not allowed to actually engage themselves in activities of politics or active politics. They must resign and follow politics or stay quiet and work for the government. Okay. So now Mr. Ichle must continue talking about Mr. ECO, who is dead. They are saying the dead, they are supposed to be very essential, we don't say anything. Mr. Ichle should not talk about Mr. ECO. He should focus on giving us what he will do next, and this is what he has done now. I think that would help voters to make their decision instead of talking about Mr. ECO. Alright, because even the Brand Mundi, we're not really talking about ECO all the time in a bad way. What they are saying is that when they are voted in power, they will talk to the family and the family will bring back the body to Zambia. That's what they are saying. So we should avoid that. So UPND 7-point plan does not really make sense. It's not feasible because the things they are promising, there is no true foundational indicators to show that what they have done so far can actually be compared to what they are promising. For example, they are promising to build 7 universities when for the last 4 years they have borrowed almost the same as what PF borrowed in total in the last 4 years, and they have built 0 university. They have built 0 complete school. What they have built is only toilets I've seen. What they have built is only classrooms and some desks and some few things. Most of the money they have bought, they spent it in paying civil service, which they expanded, which they employed a lot of civil service. So this money they are borrowing mostly is actually going to payment of salaries for civil servants, which is consumption. You know, what I know is that when you're borrowing money, money should always be for development in the capital, or should be deployed in the capital assets or capital investment, which makes money, not for consumption like payment of civil services. Okay? Yeah. So Mr. Ichle has promised to build 6 universities in every province. How is it possible when he has failed to even finish the Unza hostels, which were started by the PF? Okay, the hostels, they have not really been finished because that's what we're supposed to see. You should have said, look, PF left the hostels unfinished at Unza, I finished them. Now I plan to build 7 universities. That was going to make sense than coming today and say, I'm going to build 7 universities in some provinces, which is almost impossible. Yes, he can try, but I don't think he's going to have a lot of time to do that. Unless if he had started in these last 4 years to do that. I don't think it's a feasible plan. I think it's just a populist or trying to wink some voters who will be gullible enough to believe that actually that's possible. Another lie, which I think is not true, is building 10 international airports in all the provinces. It's not possible also to actually build 10 international airports are not cheap to build. If he has failed to build standard schools and all this in the last 4 years, how is that possible he's going to do that? I think the man is fiscally disciplined, which means very disciplined. Now he spends money. He's not going to have money to actually do that in the next 4 years. Okay, so there's a question here. The people at campaigning using ECO's board is Mr. Brian. Okay. Look. Tell me exactly how Mr. Brian Mundubire is campaigning using ECO's body. All Mr. Brian Mundubire said was that when he wins power, he's going to talk to the family to make sure that the body for Mr. Edgar Chagwalungu is brought back to Zambia and buried. So what's the campaign about that? Isn't it what is true? The family failed to reach an agreement with the Ichilema's government or President Hichilema's government. And they said as long as Mr. Hichilema is in power and he insists to attend the funeral of ECO, which Mr. ECO himself purportedly said he does not want to see Mr. Hichilema attending his funeral. So the government, they still have a quarrel with the family of Mr. ECO, and they know that if Ilungu's body came today, the government would impose themselves on that funeral. So the only way to actually bring Lungu in peace today is that we wait for HH to be removed from power, or Mr. Hichilema should turn down and promise like a good promise to make sure that he will not intervene into that funeral. Okay? Yeah. But which I think Mr. Hichilema is not going to give up. He's not a man who easily gives up. He's a very strong-willed person. Yeah. Okay? Yeah, of course. Of course, that's what you'd say. Yeah. So, for also insisting on the funeral, you're not invited. It's not a good thing. So, under UPN, I don't think Mr. ECO is going to be buried here. Even if you don't bury him in South Africa, there are a lot of places where ECO can be kept to. Maybe by this time, some of you don't know, maybe Mr. ECO is not even in South Africa, he's moved to another country. It's possible. People have got money. They can't stay in power for 10 years and they never had an exit plan. They always have an exit plan. But some small-minded people think that ECO's family can be stranded. They cannot be stranded. They were in power for 10 years. It's not possible. They had enough resources. Whether they stole or they got it, I don't know. But they had enough resources to sustain themselves for the next 50 years. That's the truth. One baby Mwenda, thank you for joining. Where you watch me from? And I've got my parents are actually watching this podcast, so guys, be respectful in those comments, all right? Yeah. So all of you joining now, welcome to the Thinking Zambian once more. My name is John Kalama. This is my tag name on Facebook, YouTube, and also Twitter. Yeah, I'm also on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok, so you can follow me on these platforms. What happens to the video on Facebook is that each time I upload it like this, it will only stay for 30 days, and afterward it will be deleted. So what I do, I download this video and upload it on YouTube. So you can always watch this after 30 days if it appears on Facebook on YouTube. Okay, Madam Patience says we are forgotten about and we are moved. You cannot forget about it. Look at what's happening in Zambia spiritually. There is a lot of spiritual work going on, and some things need to be fixed. For example, that graveyard, somebody needs to be buried there, or it's to be buried. Okay, you might not really see this in that way, but Africa has always been a spiritual country or society. So these things are true one way or another. We need to buy that grave, otherwise it will continue wanting someone to be buried in there. Okay? Yeah. So that's it. Alright, so we continue. So I was saying that the UPND manifesto is not really feasible looking at what they have done, because we judge every man based on where they're coming from, the history. Okay, so if in your past, your last few years, you're given opportunity to lose Zambia, you did not actually attempt to do any major project, what will make you do it this time? I really don't believe in that 7-point plan. I heard Mr. Hichilema saying Mundibi has no manifesto. Mundibi has a manifesto. And he has a manifesto of a lot of different parties. It's not like in UPND where people follow, or the alliance member are forced to follow the UPND manifesto. No. In Tonse Alliance, the difference is that in Tonse Alliance, manifestos of different political parties who have joined them, their manifestos have been combined together with other different political parties and formed one. So manifesto is there in the Tonse Alliance. There is manifesto in Tonse Alliance. Just take time and read it. Mr. Hichilema knows, because some of the things which is in UPND manifesto is also in Tonse manifesto. Simply means Tonse is actually willing to continue what HH will leave when he leaves office this August 13. Yeah. I believe Mr. Hichilema was losing this election. You can see, Siawan is confessing already. And Mr. Ruswanis already said that in your cover ground, which is true. Okay? You have silenced Zambian with Bill 7 or Cyber Law. And they are speaking. Look at what's happening to Mundibile. Mundibile's party was formed 4 weeks ago. Look at the majority is pulling. Zambia fed up. Zambians are actually fed up. They don't love lies and they don't love any president who tempers with the cost of living. That one is gone. No matter what you do, you can insult, you can defend yourselves, nothing will happen. So what UPND has started doing now, they are twisting everything when they say and turn it into evil, hoping that people will change their mind. You know, people want to change their mind, people already here. You can say, oh, just like PF used to do in before 2021. They said a lot of things, they twisted things, UPND said, they called the HH Satanists and all this, will never be a president. But finally, when Zambians made up their mind to vote for HH, they did vote for him. So, when Zambians make up their mind, it's really hard to actually change it. Yeah, okay? So vote BMM8 to maintain peace and a good governance and also democracy in Zambia. Otherwise, Mr. Hichilema might actually become a dictator we never wanted. Okay. Now, my last topic tonight is that is Dr. Hichilema or Mr. Hichilema preparing Zambians for dictatorship? Okay. Are we heading into dictatorship? The answer is yes. Yes, and I've got my own reasons for this. My opinion is that Mr. Hichilema, when he wins this election, Zambia will go to dictatorship. Look at what's happening in Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, they have just extended the term limit to 7 years. And we heard people saying that, Kasichinja constituents, we might not have elections in the past. We have heard cadres of Mr. Hichilema saying, like Rifwaniso, that Hichilema will do up to 2041. In which democracy? We have heard some chiefs in Southern Province calling Hichilema as their god. Mr. Hichilema has imposed cyber law to make people stop talking. Mr. Hichilema passed 74 bills in 1 week time. And they're just waiting to be signed. And immediately he wins this election, trust me, he's going to sign them. Including the gathering bill, which says 7 people must seek police permission to meet in public. Now, that public place can be a lodge, okay, can be a ground, can be a tavern, can be a church, or maybe church is excluded, yes, but there are a lot of public places, including in a bus. If 7 of you traveling together, you need to have a police permit. You don't want to live in such type of land. Yes, the law was there before, but the law which was there did not require for you to have a permit. What it required you to do was to go and inform the police. But in today's law, if Mr. Hichilema signs it, which I know he's going to sign it, the reason why he did not sign it is because he knew that elections are coming and there will be serious talking if he did that. But you saw how he ignored the courts. The court said Bill 7 was illegal, but he went ahead. So what to stop him this time? Nobody. Look at how he has sent judges in the High Court. He has tampered with the Parliament. He has tampered with the SEC. The American ambassador actually said the person in the SEC today is under investigation. He's collapsed. The MPs or ministers of UPND who have been collapsed are not being investigated. There is corruption in the Ministry of Health. The 71 containers up to now, we don't have answers. Gold at the airport, Sudlight, all these we have no answers to because all this has been silenced. But things will only get worse. You have seen cadres killing people. They have killed 4 people so far. 2 people for playing a song. Another one is a driver for an independent candidate in Magoy in Southern Province. So already Southern Province is divided and there is a chance Mr. Hichilema will not get the highest vote. So most people are not going to vote just if they don't vote for the opposition. Mazabuka, Hichilema will not get the highest votes. If he will, they won't be as high as it was in 2021. And there are a lot of places where members have gone independent because they've frustrated with the UPND. What UPND did, he invited in PF and they adopted them instead of their old members. And that was sad, especially for people who stayed in UPND loyal for a long time. They were supposed to be treated well, not the way they were treated. Yes, so these things have been happening and yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah. So, like I've said, look, I love Zambia and I want to see a better Zambia. I don't want to see a Zambia with a strong man as a president. Zambia can never be Rwanda. Zambia can never be DRC. Rwanda can never be Malawi. Zambia can never be Zimbabwe. Zambia can be like Botswana. Zambia can be like Namibia. Zambia can be like South Africa. Zambia can actually be like Ghana. These are good countries we are supposed to associate with, not countries like Tanzania where we have a dictator president. And Zambia can be like Kenya, where people are free to protest. Okay? But if these things are going to be taken away from us, right now, people cannot comment their heart out because they are scared that they don't have lawyers. If people reach a point whereby they need a lawyer to say something openly or say what is troubling them, you are doomed as a president. Yeah. So we need to repent, ask for forgiveness, and start learning to love each other. I'm really disappointed for a lot of men of God who are actually siding in politics, who are creating enemies for themselves and enemies for Mr. H. Lema. We have a history of people who actually created enemies for president, and they ended up not solving their problem, because when the next government comes in, these people have been so soup. So if we vote out UPND this August 13, what will happen is that Mr. Mao Sampa will not have a job, which will be a good thing. Mr. Chavinga will not have a job. Hopefully, whatever they have been given, they are keeping, because the trouble is coming in the future, whether they like it or not. We have all these Mushanina whatever moved to UPND, because today the PF cannot be evil just because they are with Minduville and they are good when they're in UPND. Come on, UPND is not good to actually cleanse sins of the PF. The sins of the PF should be cleansed by Zambians, not the UPND. UPND cannot determine who is old and who is not. Just like they cannot determine what is right or not. Today, the UPND is determining who is old and who is not in Zambia. They are also determining what is the hate speech. They are also determining what is tribal remarks, because both Mr. Ichilema and his cadres, they are actually speaking tribal and hate speech wherever they go. Mr. Ichilema tells the people of South Bend that if you don't vote for me, this when they come to power, they'll be beating you. Mr. Ichilema is insinuating that some people, they were not coming to Lusaka because they were being beaten because of where they're coming from. But I challenge Mr. Ichilema today to give us 2 people who were beaten because they were from this tribe. There were violence in PF, yes, but people were never beaten because they come from this tribe. It's not true. Yeah. So we should learn to love each other and speak the truth, even if we need maximum votes, because Zambians already know that some people have got lying lips and they cannot follow such. So thank you very much. It's been wonderful and I enjoyed this podcast. I'm sorry it has been very long. It's a long podcast, but we had to say what we had to say. So that was it for tonight. Thank you very much for everybody who participated in the gaming. Thank you for special people who mean a lot to my heart. They were watching. And thank you guys for not commenting bitterly in my comment section. Okay, we're all just trying to win and make Zambia a better place. I'll see you next Friday. Take care and have a great weekend. Shabbat Shalom, we would say. Goodbye. Thank you.